since we were on the topic of leadership, I did want to ask you, Miss Roxanne, if you can. I was gonna ask you like, what does your typical day look like? Because I know being being the head of your profession, there's a lot that entails that. But selfishly, I want you to tell me more about how it was prepping for your TED talk and kind of what.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I missed it.
I feel like selfishly, I want to know, and I feel like our listeners would really benefit from hearing your story and then coming from directly from you, obviously.
Absolutely. That was one of the most, it was kind of like I'm first and foremost not in any way expecting it. And when I was nominated and I was asked to actually submit my idea, right? Because all of this is about an idea. So I submitted my idea based on the work that I'm actively doing. And then I received a phone call from Marco Silva, who's an amazing leader as far as the TEDx community is concerned. And he said, I heard your video, but I think that there's something else to your story. And I want to know what that something else is. So he called me. I was at home. I remember like looking at the number or looking at the name that was coming in, and like I just started to shake, like, oh my God, they're calling me. And it was like, turn off the TV, I can't focus, like, that type of moment. And then, he calls me, and I'm thinking I'm speaking specifically to him. I didn't know that he was sitting at the table with the team around him. So I was myself, and I just spoke. And I talked to him about how, my daughter passed away. And then after that, I was, of course, angry with God. And if you've lost a child, you more than likely can know what that feels like, to be in a space where I was completely heartbroken and thinking to myself, like, wow, you couldn't even trust me with a child. And I had to stay in that season for a while. And then when I ended up at the hospital, finally, like, okay, if pain doesn't leave you, you get up and you leave pain. And my way of leaving was by going to school and actually doing something with it. So I end up at the hospital, and there's, this 5:00 time, like 4:50, when you're like, okay, I'm, put on your regular shoes and get out the door. But I was in the oncology department for pediatrics, for children. And I remember running down the stairs, because I used to be a lot more active back then. So I'd take the stairs. And I remember running through the stairs, and then it dawned on me that the kids, they didn't have the luxury of literally leaving at 5:00. So then the next day I came back, and I started to do something that to this day I still do, which is I find somebody that I don't get paid to be a blessing to. And I ask, how can I be present for you today? So I came back to those kids, and I would go room by room, is there anything I could do for you today? And one little girl, she was about 11 years old. I remember she was on her bed, and she was just, sitting there. And I looked at her, and she says, can you talk to my mom? And I was like, sure, of course I can talk to your mom. About what? And she tells me, she goes, it's because I'm ready to go home. And I thought to myself, like, in utilization review and case management, early in the morning, you'd go through the charts, you'd, check to see if there was discharge, hospice, transfer, so that way you can get yourself mentally ready for when you were doing your rounds. And in that moment, I thought to myself, that's weird. I didn't see any discharge paperwork for her. So I tell her, like, are you going, like, you're being discharged? She says, no, I'm ready to go home. And when she told me that, it kind of like dawned on me, like, okay, I get it. I get what you're talking about. She says, the thing is that my mom comes in here and she tells me that she needs me. And I can't leave my mom like that. So then she goes on to tell me that there was angels in the room, and that there was one on each side of her headboard and one at her feet. So there was 3 of them there. And at that moment, I remember, like, to this day, I still feel that presence that was in that room. So I go outside and I look for mom, and she's sitting there in the lobby. And at that time, I didn't know that every 10 seconds a parent loses a child. I didn't know that. And I didn't know that she was about to be that statistic, similar to how I had been that statistic a couple of years earlier. And I tell her, like, your daughter needs you. I tell her what she needs to do. And she looks at me with a look that could have pierced through me. And she says to me, how dare you ask me to let go of my daughter? Have you ever lost a child? And in that moment, my own pain kind of made sense. Yeah. Although it sucks that I had to have gone through that, that mom would never have been receptive to what I was sharing with her that her daughter needed from her if it wasn't because I knew what it was like. And when I told her, as a matter of fact, yes, I have. And what I'm telling you today, somebody told me a long time ago. And it's going to be the biggest lie of your life when you tell her you're going to be okay, because as a matter of fact, you'll never be okay. But she needs that from you. So mom went in there, and the rest is, the rest is history. But when I shared that with Marcos, he tells me, he's like, that's the story we want to hear.